Thank you, Chairman. And Chair Yellen, welcome again. I want to kind of return to this line of questioning that Senator Klobuchar and Chairman Coates had touched on with infrastructure in particular. And I want to thank you for very diplomatically describing why it's a bad idea to pay for things in this way. I might be less diplomatic in my characterization of those types of pay-fors, but I think it's very important that we, in our efforts to pay for things as important as infrastructure, have honest payments. One of the changes that was made along the way had to do with the exemption of community banks from that sort of structure, and at this point, Fed member banks with assets less than $10 billion will be exempted from the changes in the Fed share dividend rate that were included in the Highway Trust Fund bill. Community banks in New Mexico and across the country depend on the Fed share dividend for its solid return on capital investment, and I've been very vocal about how misguided it is to ask small community institutions to finance our nation's infrastructure. Do you have any thoughts on what the impact could have been, especially given your previous comments today on the regulatory burden on those institutions, had that change not been made to the pay-for?
So, I mean, obviously, there would have been a burden on those institutions. Something that worried me is that it might affect the incentives of many of those institutions to be members of the Federal Reserve, to be members of the Fed system. And I thought that was something that before one makes a change of that significance, it's wise to think through more fully.
Do you think it would have any impact on their ability to, on the decision-making in terms of lending to small businesses that are on the margin of their business plan?
That's difficult for me to say. I mean, clearly there is a tax in that, but I don't know how significant that would be to lending decisions.